You booked it, episode 204. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Have you joined the You Booked It community yet? It is your go-to entertainment career resource. Inside, you'll have direct access to Broadway performers, Emmy nominees, and people just like yourself navigating this industry. Learn from those walking the walk. Build industry relationships, access unlimited masterclasses, and learn how to book the job more consistently. Join free today. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside. And now, let's meet today's guest. Okay, let's get this started. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Sonja McCord. Are you ready for this, Sonja?
Absolutely.
Brilliant, let's do it. Sonja is a dancer, choreographer, and artistic director / CEO of the Sonja McCord X. She trains professional dancers to amplify their artistic brand, build independent work, elevate their talent, and monetize their art, all while increasing their marketability and visibility in the industry. She has performed with the Pittsburgh Ballet Theater, Nashville Ballet, Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, Dance Theater of Harlem, and has been featured in various online magazines and publications. Sonja, that is a very quick intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? Fill in the gaps and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry.
Well, currently I'm in New York City, Manhattan. I'm a dancer and choreographer, and as you said, the artistic director and CEO of my own company, the Sonja McCord X, which stands for The Experience. It serves as a dual role for dancers, elevating their visibility and becoming more marketable in their performances. Right now, I'm focused on leading a movement of dancers who have empowered themselves to build a body of meaningful work and also to turn their art into a legacy. My goal is to disrupt the industry with a new approach to their visibility as a performer. And basically, as a former marketing director, I teach dancers and performers how to use social media to build their credibility, their authority, and their identity in the entertainment industry so that ultimately they'll get booked for jobs, especially directly from social media. And the thing that I'm most passionate about is giving performers permission to pursue their biggest dreams and helping them create a strategy around that to make it happen.
Oh, that's really good. I really like what you're doing with the Sonja McCord X because, yeah, talent is great. I was just on a masterclass or hosting one, and they said talent will always trump everything else, whether it's your reel or anything like that. But while that is true, you still have to be seen. And when someone is going through hundreds of submissions, whether that's just looking at headshots or they're looking at reels, or it's a cattle call and there's 500 people in the room, how do you make yourself stand out? How do you make yourself more marketable? How do you get noticed? And there are very specific things that we can do to help our marketability, our visibility, to get put in that keep pile, right?
Exactly. It's about making sure that your presence is known long before you're in the audition room. So if you're working actively on social media and you're posting videos of your performances, or if you're an actor, of you acting in different scenes, and then making sure that you're spreading the word on other social media accounts and interacting with casting directors and just other people in the industry, eventually people are going to learn your name. And that's what's important. You want to be able to walk into the audition room and they see your name and they recognize it. And that's what I teach, how to build your reputation in the industry so that it precedes you before you even walk into the room.
Oh, so good and so important. And I'm excited to get into that a little bit more through this interview. But first, let's get into this section here. And look, Sonja, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
One of my favorite quotes is change is the essence of life. Be
Mm.
willing to surrender what you are for what you could become.
And can you expand on that a little bit on how it's worked its way into your career personally?
Yes, I found this quote when I was a little girl and I fell in love with it immediately because I've always been pretty shy and afraid to speak to other people. And actually, no one believes me, but I'm 53% extroverted. So I'm quite introverted. And I would much rather sit and listen to most people speak than for me to have to speak myself. I've always had this quiet determination to push myself to do more, even if I'm afraid. And
Hmm.
that's probably why people don't believe me when I say I'm shy, because I've become so good at pushing myself to take risks, to surrender who I am, and to go after big opportunities that I make it look like it's easy for me. And it's definitely not. And I fight this resistance every single day. And each day I try to make that choice to surrender myself with the belief that something new and exciting will enter my life and the faith that I will continue to grow as a person as long as I keep surrendering who I am.
Really well said. I really like that. And I also like how you said, you admit yourself, hey, I'm quite introverted, but you wouldn't guess it. And it's still a challenge for me every single day to put myself out there. But would you agree that even though it might not naturally feel like you should be, or you naturally want to be extroverted or put yourself out there for whatever that opportunity is or to build that relationship, that the more you do it, the easier it gets? It's like a muscle.
It absolutely is a muscle. It does get easier, but the bar keeps getting raised. So
Right.
there's always these situations that come into your life that are the stakes are high, and I still get those butterflies. But I think what becomes easier is the act of pushing myself, not necessarily the doing after, when you get there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because each scenario is always different, and then you have whatever the relationship. Like you said, the stakes get higher, and that is the catch of doing what we do. The more we expand our networks, the more we do in this career, the more we push ourselves, the higher the bar always gets raised, and you get introduced to bigger opportunities, more influential people in your niche or in your industry. And yes, on a micro level, I agree that those conversations start getting, they're always nervous because it's a new kind of level that you're breaking through in a way. But like you said, it's knowing that within yourself that you can, I know how to step up and I can do this. And that foundation that you've built for yourself is what you can fall back on and rest in.
Absolutely. The universe keeps it fresh, and life is definitely an adventure.
Yeah. Well, let's get into this next section here. And Sonia, of course, you are an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, and personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yes, there is an outrageous amount of fun and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we are going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career, and how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Yes, I put a lot of thought into this. It's been mindset mostly, and mindset as a result of racism that I've experienced. Like, I've studied classical ballet, and I always think to myself, my story is what Misty Copeland's story would have been had she not had an army of mentors guiding her and pushing her past her mental blocks and past that ugly side of discrimination that we see a lot of times in the arts. And I was at a dance institution that ignored me. People didn't believe in me. They made me feel like I didn't belong. And I was at the top of my class, but I had girls spit in my face when I was 8 years old, and I didn't even know their
No.
names. Another guy told me that he basically said, he was like, "You're nothing. You'll never amount to anything." And I remember just standing at the bar, like, "Who are you? And why are you talking to me?" And I
Wow.
just remember these things would happen all the time. And I as a child, I didn't comprehend it, but as an adult, when I look back, I recognize it because I've been in so many situations that I've just tolerated and moved past. And what a lot of people don't understand, because you can look at that and think, "Oh, that doesn't seem like racism," but racism is just this quiet language and a set of behaviors that only can be identified intuitively by this energy and a tone and just discernment from living. And I'm referring to racism, not bigotry. And like for another example, we were told that if you're going to be in Swan Lake, you can't get a tan. I'm naturally tanned as a Black woman. And where does that put me? And I remember thinking, like, is there a space for me in Swan Lake? Can I be a dancer? And so that didn't really give me confidence that what I was doing was actually going to lead somewhere. And so I had to manage those thoughts and push past it and try to move forward. But those words remained inside me and impacted me significantly. Now, today in 2021, I'm on the other side of it because my mission now is to use my voice and my art form to disrupt the dance industry and begin to cultivate that next generation of dancers who understand that dance is for the people, for all dance genres. And art has been and will always continue to be at the forefront of change. And as artists, we now have this huge opportunity today to eradicate racism and body shaming and ageism and all the discrimination that still pervades this industry currently.
Yeah, wow. Really awful that you had to experience all those things growing up. But like you said, in your mission and what you are doing and moving forward to evolve and disrupt this industry is so important. And I think we find ourselves, especially through, this last year has been so much going on so many different levels. But I think at any time in history, I think we are actually kind of on this precipice where we are able to make some real positive change and really take some major steps forward insofar as racism and insofar as bigotry, insofar as accessibility and things like this and any kind of discrimination. And I for one am quite hopeful looking forward and seeing how social media, how these communities online have begun to flourish and the conversations are happening, these conversations that have been too long suppressed or just not even brought up, right?
Absolutely. I feel really hopeful, to be honest. And I just look at every single industry and I'm just seeing change. And like you said, these conversations are happening and the tough conversations are the ones that we want to avoid and sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
And especially in art, we've seen it for years where artists take what's happening in the world and they create these beautiful masterpieces, and that's still continuing. And I'm hoping that through dance I can find a way to tell my story and to push the causes that I believe in, such as anti-racism and anti-discrimination.
Yeah, love that. So good. Did you know building industry relationships are the most important assets you need to create a long-lasting entertainment career? And don't take my word for it. Guest after guest here on the podcast have attributed some of their biggest career moments to their relationships. That is why you need to get yourself inside the You Booked It community. You'll learn what you need to do to get noticed and make sure your headshot stays in the callback pile so you can book the gig more consistently and create a successful career. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside free today. Well, let's move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realized, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living. Or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing in the entertainment industry. Tell us about that.
I'm one of those people who truly believes that I was born to be an entertainer, in particular a dancer. I was 2 years old, probably a little bit younger than 2, and I was watching the original movie Annie with Anne Rankin and Jeffrey Holder and Bernadette Peters and all the other legends.
Yeah.
And every time the movie would go off, I would cry. And as I watched it, I remember thinking to myself, I want this life, like the dancing, the singing, the wealth, the friendships, New York City, Radio City Music Hall, the fancy costumes, and even Annie's no nonsense, tough girl spirit. Like that girl knew how to use her charm, her wit, and her passion to change the minds of others. And I'm very very similar. But to fast forward about 4 years after that, when I was 6, I went to my friend's open house at her dance studio. I remember my sister dressed me up in a khaki skirt, tights, and a blouse. And the teacher asked me if I wanted to try the ballet class. And of course, I got up and I went for it. I pushed myself. But I remember feeling totally stupid because I didn't have dance clothes on. I didn't have ballet shoes on. It's like blouse. Again, I pushed myself. And when it was over, I told my mother, I want to do this. And every single performance and recital that I had after that, I would fall more and more in love with the stage.
Mm.
And guess what? I would cry after every performance was over, just like with Annie. And I think that's how I really knew this is what I wanted to do and that I was born to do, because there's something in dancing and being on the stage that just every single time it moves me to tears, and I just never want it to end.
Oh, that's so good. I like how you said when you show up for the dance class at first, you're like, I didn't even have proper dance clothes.
Right.
But I love that as well. My wife and I recently opened a dance school, and we've got a lot of young kids that come in, and it's their first time ever experiencing dance. And oftentimes, they don't have the leotard, they don't have the tights and the shoes, but that's not the point. There's time for that. That's just clothes. You can solve that. But just getting people there, and I love just seeing people fall in love with the art or fall in love with dancing. And you can see it happen, and they just get more and more excited about it. I love that.
Yes, it's so beautiful to watch.
Yes. And let's piggyback on that story a little bit. And I want to talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day, the auditions and callbacks, if they happen to be a part of it. What was going on in your life? And what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
Okay, so my favorite booked it moment is an ode to irony. I have a few favorite stories. However, the one that I'm going to share today is when I was younger, probably around 11 or 12 years old, and I was invited to audition for the Nutcracker Suite with Nashville Ballet. I was really excited to be there. Yeah, and I felt so honored that I was invited. And then I don't remember much about the class itself, except the final lineup. And the artistic director, which was Yannick Sherigan at the time, and the ballet mistress, Elaine Thomas, and school director, Ingrid Derrickson, was there. And they lined us all up in groups. And I didn't know at the time, but this is where they were confirming their final casting choices. While we waited in the back, there were 2 girls who had auditioned the previous year. So they knew how things went at the school. Yep. And they told me that I would probably be a rat or a soldier, basically, because I'm Black. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't know. I was just chilling there, like waiting. And so eventually the artistic director finally announced our roles. And I was cast as a party child. In fact, I was Clara's best friend.
Yes.
And the girls that told me that I would be a rat were the rats and the soldiers. And I just thought that was so ironic that they were being so nasty to me and that they ended up being the role that they thought I was going to be. But the best thing about that role of being a party child was that you got to perform during the entire first act of the ballet. Yeah. And that was my first major performance at a major theater. And I remember we performed maybe 30 times that season, and I never got tired of it. I was in heaven. And of course, when it was over, what did I do? I cried.
Yeah. I'm seeing a theme here.
There's definitely a theme.
Yeah, I also love the irony of that.
Yeah, but I had such a great sense of humor about it. It was so funny. Like, these things would happen to me, and I would always be confused. Like, what? Oh, okay. I guess I'm gonna be a rat. Like, I didn't know.
You're like, I'm just happy to be here, to be honest. So,
right? Exactly.
Like, I'll be rock number 4.
Exactly. Just put me at the tree in the background. Yeah. I'll be fine. Yeah, so it was a great story.
Yeah, love it. Also, let's take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And hey, it's getting better, but we are still amidst this global pandemic. How do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years?
Okay, right now through the Sonja McCord experience, I'm launching a program for dancers. It's called Dancer Premier. And it's a premium online program that lasts for a year that coaches dancers on how to amplify their personal brand, build their portfolio and resume, and elevate their talent And my goal is to empower these dancers to take the career in their own hands. So a lot of times dancers and other performers, we get caught into this audition and training loop, waiting around for someone else to tell us yes, and just even holding off defining ourselves as entertainers or as professional dancers until we get that major role. So I teach dancers to build their own legacy, much like Bob Fosse, Mayor Cunningham, Josephine Baker, Alvin Ailey, Martha Graham, and Kathleen Dunham, how they built theirs. And just like each of them made their mark in American history, I believe that it's up to this next generation to follow in their footsteps. And so that's what Dancer Premiere is about. But what I'm looking forward to right now is personally making my own mark in the dance industry and building my own legacy of work. I've always believed that I am a star and that it's up to me to tell the world who I am and what I'm about with my dancing. So I'm putting out more and more dance content very soon. And
Yeah.
in terms of where I see the entertainment industry moving, I see it moving in a direction where more entertainers have the power to build and create their own work online and share that. And I believe that in promoting their own projects, they'll be able to make their own money and really build the visions that they see for themselves.
Yes, I love all of that. I love what you're doing and your outlook on the future of this industry. I am also in agreement with you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and now it's time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I am going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
All right, let's go.
All right, first question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Allowing others to tell me who I am and starting to believe what they say. And the minute I realized that I could determine my own path as an entertainer, that it was possible for me, I believed and realized I had the power to make my dreams come true.
Ah, so good. Ownership is everything. And
Absolutely.
the second question, what is your best piece of advice you have ever received?
This is life-changing advice for me. Don't focus on what you can't control. Don't put pressure on yourself and don't concern yourself with other people's opinions of you.
So good, especially that last one in this social media existence that so many of us have all the time. And the comparison game is toxic. And it's such a knife's edge of looking at other people's content and seeing what's out there as inspiration to comparison. Such a knife's edge to walk that.
Absolutely. When I competed in pageants, that was one of the lessons that I learned because the very minute I started focusing on other contestants and looking at what they were wearing and how they were acting, I never did well at those pageants. But the pageants where I stayed focused on myself and competed with myself are the pageants that I either won or I placed very highly. So
Yeah, there you have it.
I apply that to the dance industry as well.
100%. And the third question, what is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry went on pause?
Simply stated, taking my career into my own hands, creating my own projects, and giving myself permission to thrive as an entertainer.
So good. And the fourth question, what is your best resource? Whether that is a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast or piece of technology you found is helping your career right now.
The book, The Success Principles by Jack Canfield, how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And Jack says that if you follow it for a year, you'll have your breakthrough. So let's connect next year when my year is over to compare notes.
Yes, put it in the calendar. And the fifth question, if you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently or would you keep it the same?
I firmly believe that where we are today in this moment is exactly where we're supposed to be. However, if I had to change something, the only thing I would have done differently is not allowed my relationships with friends to distract me from my vision for myself. At some point, I began to settle into ideas that were not my own and started to believe that my optimism was overly ambitious, but it's not. And so when you look at history and the innovators, they're the ones who looked and sound crazy. All of the innovators, they were super ambitious. For example, the telephone. Whoever would believe that talking over a wire would make sense at all, right? Innovators don't fit in, and they aren't supposed to. And so I believe that I'm an innovator, and I only wish that I understood that early, that you don't have to fit in. And people have their own ideas of what they think you should do, but it's up to you to make sure it aligns with the vision that you have for yourself.
Really well said. I would say rewind that one. That was really good. And the last question, what is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career in this industry you'd like to leave with our listeners?
Yes, I want our listeners to hear and remember this manifesto. We are born stars, ready to shine our light on the world. We are talented, ambitious, and creative performers. We are artists. We are legends, pioneers, history makers. We are movers, chosen to move the world. We do not rely on other people to tell us we are worthy, to give us our chance to shine, because we own our stage, we direct our own performances, we turn our vision into reality, and we make our mark in this industry. We are a constellation of stars moving the world one performance at a time. And that is my manifesto for the Sonja McCord experience. And I hope that our listeners are inspired by those words.
That's so good. Did you write that yourself?
I did. Thank you.
Oh, I love that. So wonderful. Really great.
Thank you.
Yes. And with that, Sonja, it is time to wrap up this interview. It is time to give yourself a plug. So where can we find you? How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Absolutely. For dancers, I'm hosting a free 5-day dancer visibility intensive. It's 5 days full of value-packed information on how to amplify your brand, build your resume, and elevate your talent. Dancers can head over to the SonjaMcCordX.com and dancervisibility.com to register. And entertainers that are looking for coaching and mindset coaching, they can reach me at the same place, SonjaMcCordX.com. And you can follow me at Starring Sonja, StarringSonja, and the Sonja McCord X on Instagram.
Brilliant. And for everyone listening out there, I have put the links to everything Sonja just said into the description of this episode so you can easily connect with her. And also, be sure to share this podcast with your fellow entertainers, coaches, teachers, arts and entertainment educators, and anyone you know aspiring to create a career in the entertainment industry. You Booked It is the #1 resource of expertise on how to actually create a successful entertainment career. Case in point, everything that Sonja is doing for dancers, for this entertainment industry, and everything she gave in today's episode. If you enjoyed this one, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Sonja, thank you so much for coming on, having a chat with me. It's been great to meet you.
Thank you. Likewise. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to join the You Booked It community. Inside, you can connect with your people, build industry relationships, unlock unlimited masterclasses, and access the tools and training you need to create sustainable career momentum. Get your invite link right now. Tap the link in the show notes or head over to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite, and we'll see you there.